Happy Tuesday, Potterheads! Well, today actually won't be such a happy Tuesday. We're talking about Chapter 2 of Prisoner of Azkaban, and well, it's basically going to be one long letter of disappointment. But before we jump into it, go ahead and read that chapter recap in the description below if you would like. If you're new here, welcome. Please make sure that you subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss a single chapter as we reread the Harry Potter series together. And if you need to start over from season 1 or 2, just click that card right there. You guys, we need to talk about fat shaming. Dear J.K. Rowling, no, you know what? This is going to take way too long over here. Damn it. That's better. Okay guys, let's talk about this. The amount of fat shaming going on in this chapter is absurd. And this is something that generally goes on throughout the series, but it struck me so early on how J.K. Rowling is using Dudley, Vernon, and Marge's sizes in this chapter. From the very first page, she is already going in on Dudley's size, who is a child, mind you. Yeah, he's also a piece of shit bully, but he's 13 and he hasn't been taught by his parents how to live any other way. And you know what? We'll pick this up again later, but I want to go into parenting with
Harry Potter.
This is what happens when you give your child whatever they want. Dudley cannot pull himself away from the TV, and he cannot stop eating whatever he wants the most. Which, of course, is sugary and buttery and just really bad for him in general. Yeah, the Dursleys abuse Harry in a more direct and literal, physical and emotional way, but in the long term, they're kind of abusing Dudley, too. By not teaching him healthy habits for media consumption and just general consumption of anything in general, they're kind of damaging him in the long run when it comes to his all-around health as a person. And in turn, when his favorites are taken away from him, he becomes a terror. This kid is probably already bigger than everyone else his age, and I don't just mean his weight. Like, sounds physically imposing just in every way. And when you have a child that is not only bigger than everyone else, but that you have also raised to be a bully, it's not a good combination. Now, I don't want you to think that I am also shaming the Dursleys for Dudley's weight. That's not what I'm doing. There are so many different reasons that people's bodies end up the shapes that they are, and it is most definitely not always related to diet. My problem with the Dursleys is that they aren't doing the real work of parenting. Parenting isn't just about showering your child with love and affection. Yeah, that's a big part of it, and ultimately what every parent wishes they could be doing like 100% of the time. But sometimes you have to step up to the responsibility that comes along with having a kid and make the sucky choice. Yeah, your kid might be screaming in your face because they want a piece of candy or they want to watch another episode of Bob's Burgers, but I said no, and that's final. Sorry, guys. Forgot who I was talking to for a second. Anyway, the Dursleys are bad parents, and we kind of all knew this already. And that's all for parenting with
Harry Potter.
Okay, back to the letter of disappointment. Where was it? Oh, right, J.K. Rowling. Okay. J.K. goes really hard on all of the larger people in this chapter. You know what? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 11, 15, 16, and 17. 17 times in 15 pages. 17 times in 15 pages, J.K. Rowling uses some kind of derogatory or unnecessarily exaggerated description of Dudley or Vernon or Marge's size 17 times. That is so excessive. There are only 5 pages that don't include an insult on them. 2/3 of this chapter has at least one insult on every page. It's not okay, you guys. Let's look at some of the examples so you guys know what I'm talking about. Page 16, first page, talking about Dudley. His piggy little eyes fixed on the screen and his 5 chins wobbling as he ate continually. Page 18, pointed a fat finger threateningly at Harry. Uncle Vernon clapped Dudley on his porky shoulder. Large, beefy, and purple-faced, she even had a mustache. This is the one that kind of makes me the most upset. Page 22. Dudley came waddling down the hall, his blonde hair plastered flat to his fat head, a bow tie just visible under his many chins. Okay, I hope I don't have to explain to anyone out there why this is so bad, but I know there are people out there who probably disagree with me, so let's just start with what should be the most obvious thing. A person's size is not equivalent to their quality as a person. Fat does not equal bad. But if you look at just this chapter and kind of the series as a whole, it seems like J.K. Rowling thinks that it does. Look at the characters and the way they behave in this chapter. In one group, we have the misbehavers, the ones who aren't acting in really socially acceptable or appropriate ways, and that's Dudley, Vernon, and Marge. And then we have the people who are relatively quiet, or at least don't disrupt Harry's life in any direct ways, and that's Harry and Petunia. There is one thing that also links these groups together, aside from blood, and that is their physical size. Dudley, Vernon, and Marge are all described in exaggerately large terms. Meanwhile, Harry and Petunia are described very well groomed indeed, and bony and horse-faced. Admittedly still a bit insulting, but not nearly as bad. And also, that's the one paragraph where J.K. Rowling even bothers to explain the physicality of Harry or Petunia. And yet she does it 17 times with the others. Anyway, the distinction between these two groups is clear, and unfortunately it's also clear what J.K. Rowling is trying to signal to her readers. The fat people in this chapter are the bad ones. The skinny people are at least unoffensive. Look at the differences with how they interact with food, too. Dudley is constantly eating during the chapter. Marge is constantly drinking. Meanwhile, when Harry eats, he grabs a piece of plain toast and he doesn't even finish it, and then he skips dessert. On top of that, Harry's accidental magic is kind of driven by the things about Marge that we're supposed to look down upon. The first time, he shatters her glass. The second time, he takes her already large body and expands it endlessly. It's egregious. I had a previous video talking about the fat shaming of Crabbe and Goyle, and someone commented that they thought it was acceptable because Crabbe and Goyle are villains. And that comment just kind of saddened me. Now, I'm not guiltless of insulting terrible people in ways that were problematic. We've all had moments of anger or frustration where we poke fun at something that we probably shouldn't have because that person can't control it. It's a pretty human mistake to make. But now that I'm older, I can see where the problem comes into play with behavior like that. The argument often goes, well, that person deserves to be torn down for what they've done. But we need to think about the entirety of the audience that may be witness to that interaction, not just the person we're trying to insult. This book was written for children. Harry and Dudley are 13 years old in this chapter, and many core readers, including myself, at the time that the book came out, are younger than that. Think about the poor kid who may already feel insecure about their body, and here they are, reading this chapter, and the people that look more like them are being described in such vividly hurtful ways. Think about what that could do to whatever may have been left of that poor kid's self-esteem. Think about the damaging behavior that that poor kid may develop just because of these 15 pages in their favorite book series. We have to think about everyone that may hear or read or be told about the words that we say about other people, especially when we have an audience in front of us who we may never know, and we may never know what they may be hurt by. We need to be careful, and we need to take care of them. A lot of people will say that it's not their fault if someone gets their feelings hurt because of the words they say. But I just don't agree with that. If you stab someone, it's not their fault for being in the way of your knife. If you say something that hurts someone, their pain is your fault. Intentions are irrelevant. You need to heal them. That being said, I hope you guys will tell me if I ever say something or do something that harms or hurts you in some way. Please call me out on it and teach me where I went wrong and what I should have done. I promise I will do my best to listen compassionately and be better in the future. Funny joke! And that will wrap it up for our discussion this time, you guys. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. And also, don't be like Marge. Adopt your pets from shelters and don't buy them from breeders. Yeah, she's not a great person, but that is like my least favorite thing about her. And that's all for this week's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to follow along with what we're doing, please subscribe and ring that notification bell so that you don't miss a single episode. And if you really love being a part of this community and you want to help me grow it, there are ways that you can help support me in the description via my Patreon and my merchandise. If you missed chapter 1, click here, or if you want to see my most recent cooking video, you can click there. And if you can't get enough of my nonsense, click my face right here to visit my second channel. Your assignment for next week is to read chapter 3, that's The Night Bus. So make sure you read that by next Tuesday, and until then, happy reading! Nox!